Okay, on today's video, we're going to talk about out of stock issues. On your e-commerce store, or if you're just selling products, you have a full store regardless. Anything to do with selling online, products that you don't have any more of or so-called out of stock. And how that pertains to affecting your sales and how to minimize the amount of sales you're actually going to lose when you go out of stock if you're running PPC campaigns. This actually applies to if you're not running PPC campaigns and rank organically or have other traffic sources. This methodology right here, which other people that I know are using out there today to basically upwards of cut the damage to their sales of these out of stock products they have on a regular basis that change time to time, are able to cut that amount of loss in sales in half, or roughly speaking. So a huge amount, just by following this very simple system that I'm going to give to you on today's video. So with that, I promise you, when you are finished watching this video, there'll be actionable advice for you to take away. If you want to do it, you'll be able to get similar results for your business. It'll vary business to business a little bit, but it will be, double-digit changes in your results, regardless of what business you're running. And it'll be up to you whether you execute it or not. I'm just here I'm the messenger telling you what other people are doing. I got to start out with saying some of this stuff is a little bit gray area stuff, and you have to make to your own discretion whether you do it or not. Usually, stuff that is gray area is the stuff that matters, that actually matters, because in PPC you always got to do something what other people aren't willing to do. I'm not talking about illegal stuff here. That's not what this is. Just wanted to give you a little bit of disclosure. But if you do what other people aren't willing to do, I don't agree ever to cross the line in anything it's actually illegal. Okay, I'm not talking about that, but to do a little edgy stuff, if you will, because that stuff nobody else is willing to do it, therefore why it works. Okay, it's not unethical or anything, but anyway, the main thing is that Google has their own policies, and technically Google's policies may not coincide directly with this strategy. Okay, so don't attack me, Google, with this information. I'm just a messenger. I'm just telling you what I see other people do. And there's a lot of people I talk to that do this stuff regardless of whether or not I tell them to or not. They're just doing it, okay? And so you have to make your own mind up, and then to do this, if you're going to cross the line and do it the wrong way, basically, or the right way, which wouldn't be against the rules. We'll just leave it at that. Everyone has out of stock issues. How you deal with it determines where your sales actually shake out by the end of the year. So, you might lose, if you had everything perfectly in stock, you would make $3 million this year, but if you don't, you have out of stock issues sometimes, so therefore you're going to make $2.6 million. If you want to close that gap from 2.6 million as close to 3 million as you can, this strategy, like I said, is going to be what can help you do it, assuming that this is what other people are doing. Big company, little company, they're doing it. So I'll just tell you, I've seen it. This is common, but not a lot of people. It's thinking outside the box. That kind of clever thinking that gets these companies to consider it, and therefore also, outside of the box strategies with PPC generally work anyway. For most, they will simply update their sites to deal with out-of-stock issues with either they'll put it lead times. Maybe they'll have what I call it's sometimes called hello bar. At the very top of the screen, the very top centimeter on the screen, it'll say lead times are 7 to 10 days, whatever. They could do that. Or remove the out-of-stock items itself or variants of those items, colors, sizes, whatever, which from actually being seen in the first place, which can be a pain and hurt your sales the most, obviously, because there's some people that just won't buy if you don't have it in their exact size. But as you know, if you go to a clothing place, at least for me, I have a size 32 waist. If they have size 33, I'll buy it. But if I'm looking at the website, I see I'll have 32, maybe I'll just be like, meh, maybe I'll go somewhere else and see if they have 32 because it's easy to click back to Google and click on something else. So if you're not but regardless of the case, whether you remove it or don't remove it from your site, it can be a very much pain in the butt to constantly have to update your site when a single variant of an item or item itself goes out of stock. Because when it goes out of stock, you got to have the persons from operations and shipping and all that alert somebody, which then has to go to the site and then update it in real time. And regardless of how good you're at it, there'll be some float time there where it's not updated to like the exact, the way that it should. It's not reflecting what your actual stock levels are. If you're not a huge company, you need an extra person to do this. It stops you from doing it for that reason alone. Obviously somebody else could be doing it, but that's not their full-time job and blah, 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 blah. More links in the chain stuff goes wrong. Bigger companies will also, by the way, in order to deal with this, at some point we usually use a software like NetSuite. NetSuite is you actually have a software system that runs your whole e-commerce business. When you have stock that comes in, it comes in inventory, it's linked to your website. When it's out of stock, the site automatically updates. You download a report every day that says what's gone and what it recommends to reorder and how much to reorder. Obviously, a workaround sort of to that, obviously people are just, when they get stock in, they go to their e-commerce site and they put the quantity in there, and then that's close, but there's even more advanced systems to manage this, of course. But that stuff's not only expensive, but it's easy to screw up. So if you're considering that, by the way, I've seen people screw it up big time. You make a wrong mistake on setting that software up, your website's gonna not run right. You're gonna lose a whole bunch of money. You could go out of business. Assuming you got to have a expert team who knows how to deal with just NetSuite, a firm who is a top-rated firm, and it might cost you $500,000 to hire them to do it right. But that's what it takes to eliminate all possible chance that something goes wrong in your current operations. You need direct consultants to do this. It's kind of like a CRM integration firm. Unless you have somebody who knows how to do Salesforce, don't do anything tricky with it. It'll be screwed up. I don't know, it's kind of off track here, but anyway, lots of other companies are using other techniques to also minimize their impact on their sales, though, in addition to, they have their process for managing out of stock, which is the lead times on their site, or just removing this, trying to set a system up to remove it from the site. But there's also another thing that they're doing. Sometimes they do that with one of these, sometimes they don't. They just only do this. But this last thing, if you're taking the approach of, I would rather focus on not having my sales go down than do these other two things, and this is the strategy for you. And respectively, for the most part, you can either do this strategy that's going to cut down on the impact on your sales, or you're not. If you're already doing well, maybe you would just basically remove it from your site. You don't have to deal with any BS. There's no additional process, but you're also not going to have as many sales. So obviously it's up to you. But this system right here can cut the amount of impact on your sales of having out of stock throughout the year by roughly half, as I talked about here. Okay, half of your sales. So anyway, what is it? So it's kind of a three-part system to this process, if you will. First of all, so first, going one step backwards. If something's out of stock, you don't immediately, at least, if it's out of stock for one day, you don't immediately go in there and say out of stock. Why? Because your PPC campaigns that are used to selling that item, and it's a top selling item, you sell 3 items a day from your PPC traffic that goes to that page. And if you put it out of stock, immediately that 3 is gone, right? So instead of just making it, again, this is sort of against Google's policies. I'll tell you about what Google wants you to do. But what a lot of companies are doing, I'm just telling you what other people are doing here, they don't put it out of stock on their site right away. What they'll do instead is they'll wait for the user to order. Then they have an actual salesperson, not a secretary, not a pencil pusher, an actual salesperson. If you want this to work to the level I'm talking about. If you have a pencil pusher do it, it'll work way less. To percentage-wise, it might be half of that or a third of that. An actual salesperson calls them back right after they order within the next day, within 24 hours or whatever. The salesperson could call all the people back that ordered that item that was out of stock or any item that was out of stock, and they tell them, we plan on having this item back in 7 to 10 days. That's kind of the max threshold somebody is willing to wait before they immediately want to cancel. And if they want to cancel when you tell them this, you just let them cancel. That's what turns it from gray to black. You're not playing games with them. You're just saying, I'm expecting to have it in stock soon. What do you want to do? Do you want to get a refund or you want to wait 7 to 10 days? We can wait. It should get it here next week. We'll ship it out to you. Most people, more than half of the people will just let you wait. Okay? So that, in other words, though, it is a little bit of kind of shenanigans, and you're letting the sale come through, and then you're having this person kind of build some rapport with the person and just explain. It's a really great item. It's worth waiting for. Just wait. We'll ship it out next Friday. I promise, basically. Oh, okay, da-da-da-da-da. They can either do that. They can obviously cancel. You don't push the cancel option to the very last in the list. Or the salesperson looks at what they ordered and they find you have a pre-designated a replacement item. So if it's a different size that's gone, you just give them the second closest size and you have the salesperson explain, hey, I mean, 33, this runs a little big. You basically aren't going to tell the difference. Can we just send you out the 33, whatever, instead of the 32? Color. Well, you know, I know you wanted black, but this forest green is a really dark color and it looks really good. Actually, I've seen it myself. You should, you know, for all practical purposes, you're going to love the dark green. Why don't you just choose the dark green? You're not forcing them. That's why you got to have an actual salesperson, because that salesperson can start out that call building rapport with the user. Salespeople know how to build rapport. That's what makes them good salespeople. So when the end choice needs to be made by the user, they're already, you know, all flighty and, you know, all that to the point where they want to say yes. There's a big difference between being presented with the question and then wanting to say yes because you built rapport with them first. Enough to where, like I said, this might not even be worth your time versus making way more sales using this method to where you'll actually get, you know, at least half of your sales back versus just putting it out automatically out of stock on your site. But so they could switch it out, and that's kind of the example I gave you of what to do. If you have a total, you know, that item's out of stock and it's a totally different item, like let's say you have one car tire, you could easily upsell or cross-sell the other car tire and its replacement. That's easy to do. If you sell 3 items, one's a car tire, one's a windshield, one's a seat for a car. They're totally different. In that case, obviously, I don't want to say this method is going to work nearly as good. You're going to have to, at all. But if it's just if you actually have another tire, this method should work for you the way that I'm describing it here. So it can be just a different item that's similar, or a different color or different size. This method will work for any of those different scenarios. But that's the first part of this 3-part plan. The second part is, if you sell something that's over $200, roughly speaking, a bunch of people are going to call before, or they're going to fill out the contact form on your site to ask questions before they order, because they want to ask questions and they want to be sure who they're dealing with. If you don't have a phone number on your site, you'll double your sales, I guarantee you, by having a phone number on your site, because people trust. If you sell an item over a couple $100, they trust who they can talk to. Otherwise, why the hell am I going to buy something from somebody? If I have a problem with it, I'm going to have to email back and forth with this company. It's too easy to ignore me. Versus if you have a phone number, I could call and call and call, and they'll need to give you the refund. Whereas if all I have to do is click spam on that email from you, it's too easy to, that's why, okay? So they'll call or the email, basically speaking, I put call here, but they'll talk to the salesperson, same salesperson again that you have pre-designated for this basically. And then you will tell them, yeah, if you get to the point where you first sell it, you don't tell them up front that it's out of stock. They ask the questions, you answer it basically. They want to order it. If you take credit card over the phone, you got to tell them that it'll be 7 to 10 days lead time. By the end of that process, most people will just still go through it anyway, as long as it's 7 to 10 days. Like I said, that's kind of the threshold. Or you could answer all their questions, and then you can say, oh, you know what, it's out of stock, but, so in other words, you're training the salesperson that would normally take these calls anyway. But we have this other tire here. It basically has the same outcome specs, whatever. It's even a little bit better price. I would say that respectively, just go for that one, because ultimately they're trusting you. Once you talk to that person already, they trust you to tell them what to use. So if they thought that they would want XYZ tire, they don't know that's the actual tire that they need. So if you act like the expert on the phone and build that rapport with them, of course they're going to take your advice that this other tire is just as good. I don't advocate tricking them, but as you know, you have a lot of products. One product could be, there's another product that's very close to it. So, I mean, you do what you do there. Switch it out for a similar product. And then you say, I could ship this one now, or you could do the other one and wait 7 to 10 days. Okay, which one do you want to do? Then most of them will take one of those two options. So third part of this plan, if you get no response from the person after they order it, right, by phone. So when somebody orders, if you're thinking you're just going to, by the way, just email them and go back and forth like that, you're not going to be able, there's certain things you can't do by email that you can do by phone in terms of building rapport with the user first, so they'll want to take your suggested plan, if you will, and go through with the order anyway or wait or whatever. So if they ordered, you just try to email them back and forth, you're not going to have near the success rate. You've got to call them. If, for instance, though, they won't answer the phone, so you want their phone number when they check out, call that phone number. You'll use that and go through what I mentioned here as number one, first step or part of the plan. If they don't answer the phone, you don't give up. Then you default to the going through email, and they try to do it that way. It's basically it. You're doing the same thing you did by phone through the email. You can either wait 7 to 10 days, or you could switch it out for a similar product. But don't think that you're going to just automate this, or that person you're going to have is, you're going to get lazy and say, hey, it's out of stock, da, 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 da. No, you still have to build rapport through that email if you want to save half of the potential sales you would have got, right? So that means you need to tell them, hey, you made a fantastic choice here, by the way, and I really appreciate that you came to our company to consider your tire purchase here. I've been working here for a few years, and I just noticed that this product's out of stock. Now, if you need a tire right away, I understand. We actually have a tire that's exactly like, and you have to do the same thing by phone through that email. So you have to kind of puff them up, if you will, build them up a little bit before you ask that question at the lower part of the email. So in other words, it's the digital equivalent of how that call would need to go. And the person who's designated to this, as they do it, they're going to understand what script works the best for this. Hate to use the word script because it sounds like we're so unethical here, but it is what it is. Salespeople, okay, they don't wing what they're doing. They figure out the most ideal, efficient process for selling the customer. If they don't buy your product, maybe they buy somebody else's product and it's garbage, and they're hurt more than they were helped. If you have a good product, getting them to buy it is your job. So you're going to find that salesperson, if they're a salesperson, it's going to already know, because a good salesperson already finds scripts, processes, and they test their own process. They're going to find their own process that works the best for this too, whether it's through the email or through the phone. But anyway, that's the 3-step plan. It's pretty simple. You obviously just got to have a salesperson. You got to explain what I explained here. You could send them this video by itself, and then if you're not going to be out of stock long term, this is how you handle. You don't update your site, in other words, right away. You just let the people, your salesperson, close the sale by cross-selling them or letting them know that it's out of stock and then giving them a chance to wait or get a refund then. So you have a good salesperson, you'll save half your sales that way. Then you would have just going to the site directly and just putting out of stock, you know, that's it. So it's up to you, you know, do you want the pain, do you want the sales? You choose. So some other things I got to mention, like I said, there's some caveats to this. So if you're going to be out of stock long term, I don't advocate to anybody tricking somebody and dragging them and stringing them along for a long period of time. That is BS. If you're going to be out of stock for a few days, I don't see any problem with this. But Google, at least with the Google Shopping campaigns, their policy technically is if it's not in stock, you can't sell through their Google Shopping in their Merchant Center, okay? So just be aware of this. They don't say anything about the search ads, text ads, whatever you want to call it, by the way. But for me, if I were these guys, I would, you know, most of these, there's a lot of companies that do this. And then on top of that, if you plan on being out of stock for a long time, then you're going to actually shut your ads off for those products. Now, the most efficient way that I could advise to somebody who is willing to do this would be to once a month, you have a set up process for somebody to go in, see all the products out of stock, and then shut off the ads, all the text ads, by pausing them, not, you know, obviously deleting them. And any products that are now back in stock, you unpause them. And the easy way to keep track of that is to apply a label, is what it's called, in Google Ads, next to the products that are out of stock. So that way, next month when you come in, that once a month time that you come in, you filter by those labels. Okay, there's all the ones that are paused for out of stock. Which ones are in stock? Okay, unpause, 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 unpause. And then of course you have new products that are out of stock and you have to check in there. Oh, there's a new one out of stock that's not already here. I'm going to pause this one. Okay, and then for the shopping campaigns, as long as you mark the product out of stock on the site, the shopping feed will automatically update. You don't have to worry about that. If you don't have it out of stock on the site, obviously, then you have to do more work. But respectively, if the product's out of stock and you expect it to be out of stock more than 30 days, I would recommend going into your store and actually marking it out of stock anyway, okay? Most people can get their product back in stock within a month. That's why this overall plan is a much better plan for most people to protect, the amount of sales that you need and regularly need to expect coming in. Protect those as much as possible with this plan versus just the immediate, it's out of stock one day, ads are paused. So again, once a month you go in, pause ads that need to be paused, at least for the text ads, unpause the ones that are now in stock. And that's for anything that's more than 30 days out. Otherwise, within 30 days, you're going to try this system. If something does not come in stock within your 7 to 10 days, by the way, what you need to do to carry this plan the rest of the way out is you're going to have the salesperson, preferably, and this matters more than you think, the same person they talked to before, that same salesperson, calls them back or emails them if there's no response by call, but make sure that person who does it, you tell them, don't be emailing them only, because people will get lazy and they'll email them only, and it doesn't work as good by email. Calls them back after 10 days and says, hey, the product's not in stock yet. I think it'll be within the next 7 to 10 days. Will you please wait? By the time you get to the third time of saying that, they're going to get pissed off and they're going to want a refund. So that's why I said basically up to a month. If you plan it to be out of stock more than a month, yeah, don't screw around with this. But if it's short-term out of stock, gets more people, more sales than they would have got otherwise. And if they're relying on a certain sales volume, this I guess, helps them out. So you have to stay in touch with the person. So basically, it can be someone's job once a week, that salesperson's job, if you will, once a week, just to call back all the people that they told it was 7 to 10 days. If that's the direction they went versus the complimentary item, which you want to push them to the complimentary item as much as you can, because that cuts down obviously in the overhead and running the system in general. But you can't just, if you tell them 7 to 10 days, You just can't not contact them after that. You got to call them before the 10 days is up. They liked you because you built rapport with them ahead of time. Because of that, they wanted to play ball and say 7 to 10 days was fine. You call them back, you're going to have to build rapport with them again before you hit them with the question, the actual statement. Can you wait 7 to 10 more days? So you always got to start with good news, basically, and help the user. And then if you want the best outcome possible, which is why people are trained and good for doing this, then you ask them for 7 to 10 more days. And then they'll probably say, oh, fine, okay. Again, 2 to 3 times you'll get out of them. Upwards, if it's a good salesperson, they'll probably allow you up to 30 days. And then they'll just say, nope, give me the refund. They always get the chance for the refund when you call them back, because you don't want to be totally unethical here. I'm just telling you, if a good person that has a good voice on the phone, they're good at sales anyway, they'll be able to do this for you. But they'll call back, the salesperson, the same person that they talked to before, stays in touch with that person in which they convinced to wait 7 to 10 more days. Every 7 to 10 days till that product is delivered. So that's in general, though, the whole system right there. The system saves half your sales that you would have normally lost if you didn't have this process in place to manage products that are out of stock, in and out of stock on a regular basis. If you don't want to lose all of it, and you want to cut that potential loss of sales volume you would have got otherwise through your campaigns that normally aren't working, or the traffic you normally have coming in, getting lost, in other words. But other than that, I think that covers it. If you like this video, I have a lot of other videos on this channel about other PPC strategies, money-making strategies. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, you should check those out. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns that are guaranteed to get results. You can check that out if you prefer information in that kind of format instead of what we have on my channel here. Other than that, if you have a question or concern, anything that you think I should have covered, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel within a day or two typically. But I appreciate watching my video, and good luck. Hopefully this helps you, with your stock issues if you choose to go this direction, or at least have some general ideas on how you can go about managing it a little bit better than you were before, even if you take the whole advice that I gave you on this video. It should help you some either way.